The first activity in the market planning process is performing a situation analysis. This is, in essence, identifying exactly where the organization is now so that they can develop goals and objectives to get to where they want to be next. This is an extremely important aspect in all planning, and one that is often neglected by organizations. Think about how MapQuest works or how Google Maps works. When you want to find directions, it will ask you, where are you now and where do you want to go? And then it will come up with a plan to get you from point A to point B. So let's say that we're standing here in Las Vegas and we say, I'd like to go to Disneyland. Well, Google will say, where are you right now? You might say, well, I don't care where I'm at right now. I just want to plan to get there. Well, Google can't tell you how to get from one place to another unless you tell them what the two places are. That's really what the situation analysis is all about. 5 components. The first one is the industry analysis. And in the industry analysis, we're trying to find out what's going on in the industry in which we are competing. Things that we'd like to know about would include the size of the market, submarkets, potential structural changes, trends and growth rates, issues and outlooks for that particular industry. So if I am in the cell phone industry, I'd like to know the size of the market, what the submarkets are, trends and growth rates, and issues that are coming up, and then outlooks for the future of this industry. On the other hand, if I'm in the automobile industry, I'd like to know something about that industry. Every industry is different, and so it's important for us to understand the industry in which we are operating. The second aspect of the situation analysis is to do an internal analysis. And of course, I have a couple of quotes here. One is, a man's got to know his limitations, which is a Dirty Harry quote from the famous TV or the movie series, the Dirty Harry movies. And of course, this is the argument that an organization has to know what they're good at and what they're not good at. The purpose behind the internal analysis is to identify our organization's strengths and weaknesses, and in theory, design a marketing plan that capitalizes on our strengths and minimizes our weaknesses. The internal analysis quote from me is, introspection is probably the most difficult planning activity and perhaps the most valuable. Performing an internal analysis is very difficult. Organizations often don't want to be honest about what their strengths and weaknesses are. Think about yourself. I could ask you right now, what do you think your biggest strengths are as a potential employee? And you would rattle off some things that you're really good at. I'm hardworking, I'm always on time, I'm dedicated, I'm committed. Then if I ask you, tell me what your biggest weakness is, well, the problem is this. You probably don't think you have any. All right, so for the internal analysis, things that we want to know is, what are we currently doing and what are we good at? We'd like to know something about our relative business unit history. What have we been successful at in the past, and what have we not been successful at in the future? It's important for us to identify previous results in terms of sales, market share, past successes and failures, etc., because these create some sort of an objective look at things that we've done in the past that have been successful and things that we have done in the past that have not been successful. So we also want to know, what are our key resources? Our people, our brand equity, what are our distinct competencies, what are our physical facilities, and all those sorts of things. Analysis, and we're going to spend some time talking about the competitor analysis in a little while, but basically we want to know who our competitors are and what are they good at and how are we going to be able to compete with them. And then, of course, we're going to do a customer analysis. We'd like to know who buys our product, and who will buy it in the future. When do they buy? Why do they buy? How do they buy? What are they looking for in our product? And how many potential customers are there? And then finally, we like to do an external environmental analysis, often referred to as a macro environmental analysis. And in your book, there's a chapter 3, that talks about environmental scanning. So things that we're going to be interested in are demographic shifts, technology shifts, political and legal issues, the economic climate, and social and cultural trends in terms of the external environmental analysis. Once again, we'll discuss those in more detail when we talk about Chapter 3. The end result is a SWOT. Strengths and weaknesses, opportunities and threats. Strengths and weaknesses are internal, opportunities and threats are external. So strengths and weaknesses are based on the internal analysis. Opportunities and threats are based on the customer analysis, the competitor analysis, the industry analysis, and the macro environmental analysis. So now, once we have put the SWOT in place, our next job will be to identify where we want to get to next. Analysis is unless the odds of making good decisions increase as a result of the situation analysis, the information has no value. The analysis must be used as input to the development of strategy and plan. Otherwise, there's no need to collect this information. I used to coach college football, and of course, when we do college football, one of the things we do is a situation analysis. We take scouting reports from the other teams, and we look at what we were successful at the previous few weeks and the weeks in the future. All that information has to be put together to develop a strategy for next week's game. And unless we spend some time looking at the situation analysis and using it as input, we probably won't do a good job of designing a strategic plan that will work in the future.